What's up, YouTube? It's another day with the one and only Billy J. And this is my review of episode 8 for 13 Reasons Why, now on Netflix. And this tape is for Ryan, the gay newspaper reporter. The episode begins with Clay being questioned by Counselor Porter after his outburst in the hallway. Clay doesn't give Counselor Porter much, he just speaks in generalities and say he's frustrated and upset and angry. Hopefully Clay doesn't hulk out. Clay doesn't seem to be getting any punishment for this outburst, and he just leaves the office. And once he leaves the office, he looks out the front doors and decides, I'm done with school today, and ditches school. And who's out there to greet Clay? None other than his stalker, Tony. Tony wants Clay to go for a ride, but Clay declines. Clay demands that Tony tell him what he did to deserve a tape. And he wants to know how Tony is involved in all of this. Does Tony have a tape? And Tony is Tony, and he keeps his mouth shut about anything, and this frustrates Clay, who walks off. Then Tony rolls up and offers Clay to not release the tapes if he hops in the car right now. To aid in his decision, Counselor Porter comes out and talks to a female, I'm assuming it's somebody's mom or something, and he sees Clay standing there and they lock eyes, and Clay just immediately hops in the car and takes off. Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom is meeting in the basketball court, and they're afraid of Tony or Clay releasing the tapes. And Justin wants to take care of Clay, not in a caring way, but to murder him. And for some reason, Alex is having stomach pains, or as Jessica says, stomach thing. And at first I thought it was appendicitis, but unfortunately it's on the other side of his stomach that he's holding, and not the appendix, where the appendix is. And Justin is pretty brutal because not only does he want to kill Clay, but he wants to make it look like a suicide. And so that he and Hannah can be star-crossed lovers. Damn, Justin, I didn't think you were that evil. I thought maybe he was just going to beat up Clay or blackmail him or threaten him again, but to go to straight up murder? Hannah goes off to the college fair that they're having in the gymnasium, and there's all these booths to different colleges, and here we learn that Hannah isn't a very smart student. She doesn't have the best grades, and of course she doesn't come from money, so she doesn't have a lot of money for school. So she kind of meanders around, and then she sees a young, hunky-looking guy just sitting there with a bunch of books. And this good-looking guy is a librarian. So he tells her about what being a librarian is all about, and then he says that there's a poetry club at the library and invites her to come along. So Hannah goes to the poetry club, and she feels like an outsider because she's like the youngest person there. There's all these older people there, and she thinks it's like an AA meeting or a support group. Which is quite ironic because Hannah does need a support group. But she's like, ew, old people. But then she sits down and sees that she's not the only young person there. Ryan, the gay newspaper writer, is there, and he's part of the poetry club. And she doesn't like Ryan because apparently he posted that list in the school magazine and she was upset about it. And so she doesn't want anything to do with Ryan or the poetry club. And she makes this weird face when the first lady goes up to recite her poem. And Hannah's like making this weird face like, ew, what the fuck is going on here? What am I doing here? And it looked like Hannah was about to burst out in laughter. Sometime after that poetry club meeting, Ryan pops into the baker's pharmacy to talk to Hannah. And Hannah's mom is kind of embarrassing because she kind of leaves and I guess assumes that Ryan is like some boyfriend potential. Believe me, Hannah's mom, he's not her boyfriend potential. He ain't interested. So she leaves them alone to talk, and Ryan gives her a present of a journal so that Hannah could write whatever she wants in there, poems or just pick up a diary. And he actually apologizes for posting the list. And he extends an invite for Hannah to come back to the poetry club. The next day at school, Hannah is talking to Counselor Porter about colleges and the future. And Counselor Porter is quite blunt and real. And he suggests that, because of her grades and her financial situation, maybe she shouldn't shoot to go to New York City and this and that. And maybe she should have realistic goals of state schools or even community college. And I guess Hannah really didn't like that. But hey Hannah, that's reality. And then Clay's mom is questioning Mr. Porter about if he had any interactions with Hannah, obviously before she committed suicide. And he recalls the incident where she came in about the schools, and he tells her that he gave her more realistic goals. And then he drops the bomb that Clay is not in school, that he saw him ditching school, and his mom's like, what? So where did Tony take Clay on their little road trip? Well, they went to some park. They had this huge rock face, and Tony is expecting Clay to rock climb. And he expects him to climb with zero experience. And Clay is definitely not dressed to go rock climbing or anything like that. And Tony baits Clay into climbing the rock face because he says all the answers that he's looking for is at the top. At the poetry club, Ryan recites one of his poems, and all the women are just having hot flashes, and they're like, oh, getting all wet. And even Hannah's getting a little flushed. After the poetry club, Hannah suggests that they meet up a few times a week so that he can help her in her writing. Clay's mom is of course worried because she thought Clay was in school, and then gets this knowledge that he's not in school. So she's freaking out and trying to call him, but unfortunately Clay is on the rock face and can't exactly answer the phone. And then as Tony's climbing, he actually pulls out a rock and it falls down. I honestly thought it was going to hit Clay in the face and maybe knock him out and he'd fall, but like the dust gets in his eyes and blinds him. And then Tony has to figure out another way to get up there other than that little area that he's at. And because Clay didn't answer his phone, his mom is freaking out and going ballistic. And of course, as all moms do, they think of the worst situation and thinks that he's like dead in a ditch. But luckily, Tony makes it to the top of the mountain and he lowers a rope for Clay, who I guess cleared the dust out of his eyes and is able to see. And he grabs the rope and climbs all the way to the top. Then with joy and exhilaration and their adrenaline pumping, Clay and Tony decide to drop some F-bombs as if they're like 13-year-old boys.
Oh, that was freaking amazing.
Was it or was it fucking amazing?
That was fucking amazing.
Fuck. Fuck! Fuck!
Fuck. I never totally realized that's a really great word. Fuck.
After a few writing lessons with Ryan, Hannah wrote a beautiful poem and she recites it to the poetry club. Up on the mountaintop, Tony and Clay talk about crime scenes, and Clay apparently hasn't seen any crime scenes, according to him, that other than on TV. And Tony reveals that he's seen a crime scene in person because he was at the crime scene of Hannah's suicide. Speaking of Hannah, Hannah and Ryan are hanging out after poetry club night in Hannah's room, and he basically begs her to publish her poem. And she kind of declines to do it, but he keeps begging her and saying that by publishing it, it'll help other people in the same predicament or whatnot make connections. And she didn't really agree to it, but she didn't really say flat out no. It just kind of left it open-ended. But apparently he published the poem anyway in the school newspaper, and apparently everybody reads this school newspaper. But the thing is, Ryan didn't put any names on it. He didn't say by Hannah Baker. He left it anonymous. Tony tells Clay more of the night that Hannah committed suicide. He says that she came and dropped off the box of tapes on his doorstep and walked away. And apparently Hannah would go to Tony from time to time and cry on his shoulder and talk about whatever drama she was going through. And she would vent to him because he was the only guy in the school that didn't want to grab her ass or ogle her or hurt her in any way. So that night he apparently did see her come up and drop off the box, but he was like, I'm tired of all her drama and I don't want to deal with it tonight, so I'm just going to ignore her. And then she left and didn't ring the doorbell or anything, so he felt it wasn't very important. And now Tony is upset and blames himself because he felt that he could have saved her if he just went down and talked to her. And a funny thing, on the way down, they didn't climb down. There's like a path, so they walked the path down off the mountaintop. And Clay thought that Tony loved Hannah like in a sexual way. And Clay thought that, because of this, that's why Tony was all involved and wanted to get justice or whatever for Hannah. But Tony has to drop this bombshell to Clay that he's gay. And surprisingly, apparently Ryan and Tony were dating. I didn't see that coming. In the past scenes, they're always together and whatnot, but I just figured that they were friends, because they were gay. But according to Tony, he wouldn't even be friends with him, but he would be his boyfriend. That's kind of odd. And then Clay asks for the tapes back. Back at Clay's house, Clay's mom and dad are talking, and she's talking about how the trial is tearing her apart, and how she doesn't really want to destroy Hannah's legacy. And finally, Clay comes home and he apologizes for making her worry and stuff, and then he just goes up to his room. At the Crestmont Theater, Clay is reading the poem in the school magazine, and he's ranting and raving about how good the poem is. And Hannah's just kind of playing dumb about it. She doesn't say, hey, that's my poem or anything. She just kind of is like, oh, you really like the poem? And then Clay ultimately puts his foot in his mouth, not just 1 foot, not just 2 feet, but all the feet in his mouth.
I wonder who wrote it.
I know, right? One dark human being, that's for sure. I mean, I like her poem, I think, but I'm not sure I'd want to hang out with her.
And for whatever reason, Clay had kept the school magazine that had the poem in it, and he rummages through his stuff and he finds it in his room. And he decides to give it to Hannah's mom. And this is one of the reasons I don't agree with Hannah. I don't agree that Ryan even deserved a tape. Much like Zach, Ryan could have got a little blurb, but he didn't deserve a whole tape on how he posted up her poem in the magazine, but he left it anonymous so no one knew it was Hannah. And all he did was basically give her a little push of encouragement. He didn't do it maliciously. It was a good poem. It wasn't like it was like some trashy poem like C-Spot Run or something stupid. It was a good poem. The teachers praised it. Granted, the material for like immature people was, made them laugh, but people that know poetry and whatnot said it was really good. And like I said, Ryan didn't expose her name. He didn't write her name by Hannah Baker so everyone knew it was her. And is Clay no longer going to the dark side after his climb up the mountain? I sure hope so. I don't want to see dark Clay anymore. Leave a comment down below. Do you feel Ryan deserved a tape? I didn't even see Ryan's tape coming. I thought he was just going to be an ancillary character going to the school. But leave a comment down below, and remember, peace, love, unity, respect.